Reggae Just Extra with Ras Dennis.
In 1955, Chris Blackwell was a wealthy 18-year-old Englishman whose family was part of Jamaica's colonial elite. Lost and thirsty after his motorboat ran out of gas, Blackwell came across a Rastaman, a member of what was then still an outcast group feared by Anglo-Jamaicans as menacing black heart men. But this Samaritan in dreads took Blackwell into his community, offering him food, water, and a place to rest. The young visitor awoke to find his host softly reading from the Bible. That encounter set Blackwell on a remarkable path through music, with Jamaica at its center. This is the untold story of Chris Blackwell with Ras Dennis.
This is the place to be for your reggae gist, facts, and culture.
Most music industry memoirs are front-loaded with celebrity name-dropping. The Islander, My Life in Music and Beyond by Chris Blackwell, the founder of Island Records, whose success with Bob Marley, U2, Steve Winwood and Grace Jones would offer plenty to boast about, instead opens with a parable.
Get up, stand up for your right. Get up, stand up for your right.
Chris Blackwell is one of the people most responsible for popularizing reggae throughout the world, and as Island grew to a transatlantic mini-empire of rock, folk, reggae, and pop, it became a model for nimble and eclectic indie labels everywhere. Yet it may be impossible now to not also see the Rastafari episode through the lens of race and colonialism, as the story of a privileged young man gaining access to the primarily black culture that would make him rich and powerful. Blackwell acknowledged that debt in an interview. "I was just somebody who was a fan," he said, in a mellow upper-class accent shaped by his time at British public schools. "I grew up amongst black people. I spent more time with black people than white people because I was an only child, and I was sick. They were the staff, the gardeners, the grooms. But I got to care a lot about them and got to recognize very early how different their life was from mine." When asked why he started the label, in 1959, he said, "I guess I thought I'd just have a go." It wasn't about Chris Blackwell making a hit record or something. It was really trying to uplift the artists. Born in 1937 to a family that had made its fortune in Jamaica growing sugar cane and making rum, Blackwell grew up on the island around wealthy Brits and vacationing celebrities. By the late 1950s, Blackwell was involved in the nascent Jamaican pop business. He supplied records to jukeboxes and the operators of sound systems for outdoor dance parties. Soon he began producing records of his own. In 1962, Blackwell moved to London and began licensing ska singles, the bubbly, upbeat predecessor of reggae, which he sold to shops serving Jamaican immigrants out of the back of his Mini Cooper. In 1964, he landed his first hit with My Boy Lollipop, a 2-minute slice of exquisite scabblegum sung by a Jamaican teenager, Millie Small. Shortly after his success with Millie, Blackwell saw the Spencer Davis Group, whose singer, the teenage Steve Winwood, sounded like Ray Charles on helium. Blackwell's most fascinating artist relationship was with Marley, where he used a heavier hand and had an even greater impact. Although Island had distributed 1960s singles by the Wailers, Marley's band with Bunny Livingston and Peter Tosh, Blackwell did not meet them until 1972 after the group finished a British tour but needed money to return to Jamaica. He was immediately struck by their presence. "When they entered, they didn't look broken down," he said. "They looked like kings." Yet Blackwell advised them that to get played on the radio, they needed to present themselves not as a simple reggae band, but as a black rock act, and go after college kids, code for a middle-class white audience. Blackwell recalls that Livingston and Tosh were skeptical, but Marley was intrigued. The three recorded the basic tracks for their next album in Jamaica, but Blackwell and Marley then reworked the tapes in London, bringing in white session players like the guitarist Wayne Perkins and the keyboardist John Bundrick. The resulting album, Catch a Fire, was the most sophisticated-sounding reggae release of its time, though it also kicked off a debate that continues today. How much was Marley's sound and image shaped by Blackwell and Island for the sake of a white crossover? That question comes into bolder relief when Blackwell recounts the origins of Legend, the hits compilation that Island released in 1984, 3 years after Marley died. With regards to Chris Blackwell's memoir, The Islander, My Life in Music and Beyond, attorney-at-law Maxine Stowe is not pleased with some of the content from the memoir, maintaining that what the Islands Records co-founder described as an unfounded perception of favoritism towards Bob Marley was real and was, according to her, premeditated false marketing aimed at black erasure of Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer. In response, Stowe, who served as the late Bunny Wailer's manager up to the time of his death, referenced British band The Beatles, noting that although they had split, the works they created as a group are credited to all of its members, unlike the Wailers, which she maintains, was fragmented by an unjust Blackwell, who credited all the intellectual property, including songs penned and sung by Bunny and Peter, to Marley. So it's not perceived favoritism, it's premeditated false marketing that results in loss of valuable identity rights, intellectual property rights, publishing, etc. It also extends to the favoritism in the Jamaica music industry relating to the two Jamaicas, she said, alluding to the long-held notion of entrenched double standards on the island, where two sets of rules continue to be being applied depending on a person's social status, and where the well-connected are shielded from prosecution. Going further, Stowe said that Blackwell's actions also resulted in an almost erasure of the contributions of Jimmy Cliff, who, according to reports, had become unsatisfied with the way in which Island Records appeared to pay more attention to its rock acts, and left the label shortly before Blackwell met Bob Marley. Kindly watch our episode of Jimmy Cliff's warning to Bob Marley after this video. According to Stowe, Jimmy Cliff has been quite unfairly written out of the Blackwell Island popular history story as having the seminal role and foundation that Bob Marley reaped from the World's Fair in New York in 1964. To the harder they come in 1972, Stowe said of the trapped artist. This history has a lot to do with Blackwell's Marley pop star storyline, inclination, and success. Jimmy, while securing his deep and wide accolades built on the island years, like Bunny and Peter, is also made silent, she added. Further incensed by the contents of Blackwell's memoir, in which he insinuated that her uncle Clement Coxon Dodd had hoodwinked artists, Stowe ripped into the now old Englishman, describing as mortifying his comment that Bunny had it in his head that I owed them some money. Maybe it was a Coxon distraction, point the finger somewhere else. She then went on to hammer the octogenarian over what she described as the Blackwell distraction, saying that he should have used the negative comments about her uncle, and about Jamaica being awash with cases of artists being cheated of what was due to them, to describe his own conduct. According to Stowe, based on Blackwell's own logic, all Jamaican producers and their proxies, which would include the Englishman himself, could therefore be classified as robbers, because of how the system at the time was built without protection, inter alia in the absence of a copyright law at the time. Thanks for watching, and do remember to subscribe, give it a like, and post a positive comment in the comment section below, and I'll see you again very soon for another video.
Many thanks for watching Reggae Gist Extra with Ras Dennis.